I think Pulsex is designed to last the test of time. I don't know personally what the issues are, but I have been told by some other devs that there is issues underneath V3's code. What that is, I don't really know. I've never really bothered to go ask. But Pulsex is designed to stand the test of time and be exactly what it was set out to be. And V2 is the best structure for it to be around. It's just, the fee structure alone, the second you add variables, it's so hard to actually code around that for the fee structure. So like when you have something that moves in real time, which is V3, so obviously the fee structure goes off concentrated liquidity in V3. So you can spread it across like a shorter range or a longer range, where V2 is just spread across a range. You can't really code something to have a fee structure with something that moves in real time and people can dictate and choose their own fees. Like you just can't do it.
Hey, Katie, do you use MetaMask for swapping your coins?
I use MetaMask as a front end.
Yeah, I know. But the future,
yeah.
you can swap in MetaMask without going to Uniswap or whatever DEX. Do you use it?
No, the fees, no, I wouldn't.
Exactly, the fees. Why would you use Pulsex exchange if it has fees and someone forks Uniswap V3 without fees?
Everything has fees. V2 has fees. V3 has fees.
Yes, but Pulsex has fees on top of fees. You will pay the transaction fee and you will pay the buy and burn fee. It's a fee on top of it. It's a tax coin. And Richard Hart doesn't like tax coins.
No, Pulsex actually has a lower fee than most exchanges. It's just its fee structure is different. So a percentage of the fee goes towards a wallet, for instance, that has a burn function that anybody in the community can call. It's not actually an additional fee on top of it. No.
So for numbers, for example, Rolando, Uniswap, there's a 0.3% fee, and Pulsex will be a 0.29% fee, if I'm right on that number. It's just slightly lower than Uniswap, but they also mentioned that specifically the fee switch, there could be a 10% fee that is going to be charged to specific pools, and that was always in Uniswap's code. So there is a fee on every single decentralized exchange that exists, and then whenever you use Trust Wallet, whenever you use MetaMask, their fee is just higher. Why would you use that? A, convenience. It's just right there. And that's really the only reason why some people use it. If you've noticed, the guy who's been selling the 160 million hex over the last couple of weeks, he hasn't been using Uniswap. He's been using MetaMask. What an idiot.
That's also why Pulsex has the incentive token. So the DAO can choose like what trading pairs in Pulsex receive the incentive token and at what rate. And that's part of the reason why, to further incentivize liquidity pool providers.
All I'm saying is that someone will launch another DEX with lower fees and the market will move there.
Then they won't have the liquidity. I mean, go for it. Deploy it. I wish them the best of luck, but they need to find a way to get liquidity.
Over time, the liquidity will be there. Market moves where it's most efficient, you know that.
Because it's slightly incorrect. Whales and liquidity pool providers go where they're treated best. That's just a fact. And if they're being treated best in one DEX, they're not going to run off to the new shiny thing. They're going to stay where they can earn the most fees, the most incentive for being there, and the most amount of money at the end of the day, because that's why people also liquidity pool provide. Like a liquidity pool provider just means that there's market participants willing to trade, like willing to put up pairs for you to trade. Yeah, so they're happy to have any other token. It doesn't actually mean that there's no liquidity to be put up or there's no liquidity on the market. It just means that there's market participants willing to trade. But they also put up liquidity to earn fees and money because, people can actually live off that if they have enough tokens. Like the fees that somebody can earn liquidity pool providing is enough for them to live off. It's income that constantly comes through every single day. They go where they're treated best. A brand new DEX with no liquidity, no trading pairs, no great incentive to be there, then they're just not going to go there. It's just not how it works. And if you have a highly liquid DEX with millions of dollars sitting there, turning into billions of dollars, massive amount of liquidity from Fixerbot that can be deployed slowly over time. You're talking about a DEX that's highly liquid, highly incentivized. You're going to have to deploy something pretty damn badass to compete.
The truth, that's true. The truth about the difference about
V3 would be the more incentivized DEX if they were going to migrate anywhere. Like, do you think the fee structure is better?
Especially for whales, That's true.
So V3, yeah, because you can do concentrated liquidity, but at the end of the day, we also have to wait and see because there's some things about Pulsex that aren't open up yet. That's why I'm waiting for V3 because personally, I want the Pulsex stocks the most.
And when we look at the exchanges that have zero fees, 1inch has zero fees, and more people still use Uniswap. So there are some decentralized exchanges that have no fees specifically, and they are not as utilized. Even now, if you want to avoid the fee structure, Matcha.xyz. There's no fees, and it also goes through all of the order books for you. So there are other incentives out there for you, but it's just like she mentioned, where do they go? They go where there's the most liquidity. They go where they are treated better. And even if there is a minor fee, a small fraction of a fee, people are willing to just take that because they are treated in a better way and better subjective.
Yeah, the benefit has to outweigh the cost, right? At the end of the day, and
so if you get like 1% slippage and the fee's 0.3%, are you really going to want to go trade there when you could go to the Pulsex DEX and get 0.1% slippage in the 3.3? But another thing to think about is with the DEX, that's one system and it can be replaced, it can be upgraded. So we got Richard R, we got devs, we've got a huge community, and in time, maybe Pulsex gets upgraded with a new smart contract system. That's perfectly reasonable in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We don't know what's going to happen, right? Like Uniswap upgrades every single year. We'll probably see Uniswap V4. We might even see it before Pulsechain. But what we are doing is we're taking the tried and true technology and using it for launch right off the get-go, which is really exciting.
Well, you don't even really necessarily have to deploy new contracts for a better Pulsex. You can actually, as a community, build on top of Pulsex and just use like user-defined logic and actually abstract their logic out of their contracts and build applications on top of it. Like the incentive token and the DAO on Pulsex, for instance. Like I don't know if anybody's familiar in here with like Yearn Finance, where people pull together their votes essentially because somebody wants to be able to dictate majority of the voting power of Curve. Like there's so many applications that you can actually build on top of Pulsex to further make Pulsex flourish and help the community and help Pulsex. So I don't really know why people in our community especially would also rush out to build things to compete versus building things to further grow Pulsex itself.
V3 won't matter at all to most people's user experience. It'll be very, very simple. And for most people, if you just literally wait till it comes out, we can look and have all definites rather than, oh, the bridge is closed down. It's like, well, the bridge doesn't go to that testnet. That testnet isn't up. Oh, Lucas is a new dev. Nope. Lucas has been here for 1.5 years. You just weren't here. So most of these things are just, again, they're just bait and teases. And I mean, again, like it's nice to have updates, right? Like it's cool to see commotion. It's glad that there's positivity. It just, again, it's kind of just being used in malicious ways, in my opinion. But V3 is cool, right? It's nice to see, the new version. It's always nice and exciting to see projects, especially when there's taken this long. But again, it doesn't matter other than it, gives some inspiration to the community. And when V3 is out, we can go over the actual specifics and talk about those changes in a constructive way.
It's still pretty deceiving to do that to like the ecosystem, like to pump up. It's gross to think about that you're going to do like farming of Twitter or whatever you want to call it, because that like they're going to say like, oh, V3's out and now people are going to go buy up the hex price for what? Because there's a test net. It makes no fucking sense to me. You're just going to get more people wrecked. Like,
you're absolutely right.
The coin's already down 97 fucking %. That's pretty disgusting.
So the explanation that I had earlier was it would be more honest if it was like Pulsechain could come out at any time. Make sure that you remove your coins from centralized exchanges. Pulsechain could come out at any time. Make sure that you have the ERC20s that you want for the snapshot. Things like that are more honest than anything else.
I mean, I don't really feel one way or another about it. I mean, I'm excited, of course, because I want Pulsechain, and I'm excited for multiple reasons. I'm excited, hopefully to make a significant amount of money. I'm also excited because of the cheaper fees and the possibility of some really cool things coming out that will have adoption in the future and onboard lots of people. And I just think the whole Web3 thing is going to go pretty crazy this next run. And, like if they want to engagement farm, that's fine. In a way, they're doing a service too, because you know what? How about people that need to be reminded that, hey, like, look, if you're going to develop on Ethereum, then be ready to develop on Pulsechain, because this is where things are going to go down with fees that are affordable. I can't tell you how sick I am of paying $1 to send Ethereum from one address to another, or $3 to $6 to do this or that, and it's just getting really annoying, to be honest.
$1 would probably definitely be if you obviously come out with all these other tools and everything else, all these other products, it's possible. But I'm just simply saying some of the things that need to improve for that to happen. Just looking out. I mean, this person standing on the outside looking in. Community. Also, it'd be nice to see Richard Hart be a little bit more involved. You know what I mean? Maybe tweeting, talking positively, and not necessarily blocking his own people. Especially the people that are maxis and really support him. And it was another thing I wanted to say. Advertising. Like, I know he doesn't pay for advertising, and I get other community leaders, people that have money that end up getting wealthy or rich, and Hex pay for advertising. Listen, if you're not advertising, you're losing. You're losing. Plain and simple.
Did you know that we're actually advertising on 4chan/biz? We got a guy, Togash. If you look at 4chan, that gets around, I think, 50 million users per day, active users per day looking at it. And I love Richard. I think he's intelligent. I think he knows what he's doing. And I'm sure he knows what he's doing. And because no one else is taking the reins and sitting there doing 5 to 7 to 8 to 12-hour live streams like he was doing, you have all the knowledge. We have all the knowledge he does. You can go through, listen to every single one of his videos, say the exact same thing he does, and you're still smarter than, we'll just say 80% of the cryptosphere. Guaranteed. And now all you have to do is keep up your research and just continue to go from there. And you can still talk about Hex. And he gave an honest thing to push. You can talk about ETH, you can talk about Bitcoin, you can talk about Hex, and you can talk about whatever else you want to. And then if he bans you or he blocks you, guess what? It doesn't really matter. Like, you just make an alt account, you follow that shit, and then you're going to just see it at some point. But people, they care too fucking much about that. Like, yeah. I got Richard following me, and I got Jack Levin following me.
It's kind of funny.
I still think as a community we need to clean up the language. So like the OA almost doesn't own anything, right? It's actually the Pulsex sacrifice wallet. All the Hex, all these coins, the hundreds of millions of DAI and USDC, it all went to Pulsex sacrifice wallet. So whoever is controlling the sacrifice wallet for Pulsex DEX, which got $55 billion, whoever controls that controls all of those coins, and it has nothing to do with the origination of Hex itself, right? It's a totally different address. And the OA is a specific wallet which has written in the code of Hex the ability to get the bonus, right? So it's getting a 50% bonus, which you could consider people donating when they emergency end stake. They're donating Hex to the OA, which makes the OA bigger. That's their choice. Right. If you want to make the OA bigger, what are you going to do? You're going to emergency end stake your X, and then you just made the OA bigger. So don't complain that OA has too many coins when you emergency end staked your X, so you could try to hurry up and sell your Hex and get out of Hex. And then you're saying, oh, the OA's got too much Hex. Yeah, you gave it to the OA. So that's, and of course the other stakers get the other 50%. So I think almost nobody knows about the OA, and the idea, the Hexicans push the idea because it's a cool feature, but to be honest, none of my onboards care or know about the OA. They've never asked any questions in regard to it. I could explain it, but what's the point when that's ancient history that's actually very outdated, and just it keeps pushing a narrative that you could see somebody like this Tony the Tiger guy, he's pushing the idea that Richard Hart could dump on our heads or whatever. No, actually, the sacrifice wallet for Pulsex, the community donated $55 billion to. what is that money going to do? Well, maybe Pulsex is going to be the best DEX in the crypto universe because it's got more money than Vitalik or Satoshi, right? That's pretty cool narrative.
I'm not pushing a narrative. I'm just literally just asking the question. So not just me. Let me tell you something. Not just me can understand, but some of these people that probably been in this project for a long time, who's been afraid to come up to even say anything
They
because
don't care.
no,
No, they don't. Nobody cares.
Hold on one second.
Nobody cares, though.
Let me finish my thing because I've heard it from people. They're afraid to come up and say anything because they're gonna be labeled as stupid or dumb or whatever or get shouted down. I'm just simply saying I asked a question, and the only other thing is I was gonna ask. Does first of all, does this OA can it sell? Does it have the ability not just to take in tokens or whatever, but does it has the ability to sell tokens?
The OA has all the abilities that we can all do, and it's like what Hex of the Way said was very actually. I like what he said. The OA is one wallet. There is one wallet. Now there are daughter addresses that after a while were sent, and you can actually verify this by going to the Hex contract, seeing the Hex deployer, going to the first page of it, and then seeing the contract being created, seeing 2 other transactions, and then seeing the first send out. Then you can see where the other daughter addresses are. So he was very clear, and I do like that the OA is one wallet, specifically one wallet. And it has the same functions that all of us can utilize. Buy, send, sell, stake. There's nothing that it can do that we can't do. Now, granted, it could do it at a larger magnitude, but that's because it has more money. That's it.
So that money can so it has money, right? So that money, if it could do
well,
everything,
it has hex. It has hex, specifically.
If it has hex, right? So if it could do anything and everything you guys can do, and there's an exit out of it, somebody has access to it. So yes, then you can take money out of it, which is not in my opinion is a good thing. And I'm saying this because look,
but it can't do anything. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it could sell, and the only thing it would do is push the hex price down. It could stake, and it would just lower the staking that everyone else would get. And that's. But now here's the thing: it also would have to stake at a higher T-share rate than absolutely everybody else has had already. It is constantly getting diluted, meaning it's losing the amount of hex in relation to what's coming out. So every single day that it doesn't stake, it keeps getting diluted, and it will never be able to buy as many T-shares as it could have before, earlier in existence.
Okay, so I'm again, I was just asked the question because I mean, if you're able to sell for fiat, I mean, sell.
Okay. So it's
whatever
600 million hex. So I just looked it up. It's 600 million hex right now. So 600 million hex is what it's got. Which there
that's not a lot.
There's 580 or 600 billion hex. So there's 600 billion hex, and it's got 600 million.
It's
that's almost nothing. That's not 1%. That's 0.1%. So you are wasting all of our time by talking about 0.1% of the hex supply. If you're worried about $50 million on a coin that's got billions of dollars, then you're basically fishing.
But you have to understand that
it's a nuisance concept.